Narrator: steady, compelling tone. The V-2 rocket wasn't just a weapon, it was a terrifying leap into the future. And in 2026, over 80 years since its first launch, its shadow still looms over modern missile technology. This is American Year, where we unpack the machines that reshaped warfare, and the V-2 rocket may be the most groundbreaking of them all. Developed by Nazi Germany during the final years of World War II, the V-2A, or Vergeltungswaffe, meaning retaliation weapon 2A, was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. It was a weapon of desperation, created to strike terror into civilian populations far behind enemy lines. But it was also the birth of the space age. Every ICBM, every space launch vehicle, every reusable booster owes something to this deadly machine. Standing over 14 meters tall and weighing around 12 tons, the V-2 could fly at over 3,500 kilometers per hour and reach altitudes of nearly 200 kilometers before descending on its target. It carried a 1-ton warhead, and it was supersonic, so by the time you heard it, it had already hit. For people in London, Antwerp, and other European cities, it was a weapon of psychological warfare as much as physical destruction. But the story of the V-2 didn't end with the war. In fact, 2026 marks not just its legacy, but the continued use of its core principles in modern rocketry. After World War II, both the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to capture German scientists, blueprints, and rocket parts. The most famous among them were Wernher von Braun, who would later lead NASA's Saturn V program. That's right, the same man who designed Hitler's vengeance weapon also helped put Americans on the moon. What made the V-2 so revolutionary? First, it was fully autonomous. Once launched, it followed a pre-programmed path with gyroscopes guiding its flight. No pilot, no real-time corrections, just raw physics and engineering. Second, it used a liquid-fueled engine burning ethanol and liquid oxygen, a feat that pushed the limits of 1940s technology. And third, it proved that ballistic missiles could be built, launched, and mass-produced. In total, over 3,000 V-2 rockets were launched during the war. As of 2026, the V-2 is long retired, but the concept isn't. Nations around the world use ballistic and cruise missiles inspired by its trajectory principles. Look at North Korea's Hwasong series, China's DF-21, or even the US Trident systems. While they're faster, smarter, and exponentially more destructive, the architecture behind them still echoes the V-2. At museums and military exhibitions, the V-2 continues to fascinate. Some view it as a marvel of engineering, others see it as the start of a terrible new era. And both are right. The V-2 is a paradox, a technological masterpiece built for mass killing. Its creation was driven by science, its use by desperation. But in 2026, the conversation isn't just about history. As hypersonic missiles rise and space warfare becomes more realistic, we're once again looking at the fine line between rocket science and weapons development. The V-2 was the first to cross that line. Now, we live in a world it helped create, one where missiles can orbit the planet or reach a target across continents in minutes. At American Year, we're not just telling war stories, so we're analyzing how yesterday's choices shape today's world. The V-2 rocket wasn't just a product of war, it was a warning, a preview of the technological arms race that would define the decades to follow. Thanks for watching. If you're curious about how early rocket science evolved into the missiles we see today, or want a deep dive into Cold War rocketry, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Until next time, keep questioning history, because it's closer to the future than you think. End screen with a stylized V2 rocket silhouette and the American Dury logo fades in with subtle static effect.